almost everything. And you lose that because of you've got intersecting hash work. So.
Bill, are you ready to go?
It's a really nice project.
One last question. Like when you're writing something in Forest.
Stop. Stop.
Okay, sorry.
Continue in the chat. Thanks for your patience. We'll try to keep to the schedule in fairness to the other presenters. Thank you. Bill, you ready to go?
Okay, yes.
Introduce yourself first.
All right, Bill Ragsdale here from Woodland, California, near Sacramento. I was the founding president of the Fourth Interest Group. And we are just about ready. Very good. We're on our way. We're on our way. The purpose of my talk today is to mentor and help improve the quality of the presentations that are given on the Zoom presentations. And I must say that several of them today have been outstandingly good from the use of the features that I'm going to discuss. So it's evolving that our worldwide forum for Fourth 2020, where I did this presentation, and also for Silicon Valley for FIG, is revolving around Zoom and will probably be that way for the indefinite future. Also, this has begun to replace our print archive so that the presentations are preserved by online video, YouTube, and this has actually unfortunately supplanted a lot of our print media. Not quite as useful as print, but we tried to make it so. So let's make the use of the resource we have. The goal here is to improve the clarity and the utility of these presentations, but we remember that we're doing a deep dive into technical topics, a lot of detail, a lot of minutia. We need to keep a balance between the overview and the fine detail. And also remember that we're on a limited time budget. Time flies. So here is one of the difficulties. When you put a screen full of code down, such as this shows, and then you scroll from section to section to section, it's quite visible to the presenter, but to the participants, it is hard to follow, and you really can't give a 20-minute talk scrolling your screen unless you're Chuck Moore. He could hold our attention, but you can't, so don't try. So some of the tools we would use, we need to use a proven structure for the talk, effective communication methods, break your talk into smaller bites, and I do intend to use the word bites here. And we maximize the screen clarity, camera, text, all the utilities that put it together. So the first step we need is a simple protocol, the structure for the talk. And the simplest of all is tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. Or another way of saying you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, or an introduction, the topic, and a summary. But I like the number one, tell them what you're going to tell them what you told them. Another model that I came onto, actually in my high school years, that stuck with me all this time, is SAFW. S is state your idea. A is accentuate your idea. F is for instance your idea. And W is wind up with your idea. In this case, just by writing those 4 elements on 4 different slides on PowerPoint, you now have the structure for your talk. On your first S slide, state the idea. Your next slide will accentuate. Your next slide will, for instance, and wind up. And so if you look at if you have a hard time getting started putting a talk together, just write those 4 letters on 4 slides, and the talk will begin to take its own shape. So what is the most important single idea I can convey today? If you bypass everything else I talk about, just remember this was one idea. What is important? And that is that in your mind, you have an intended outcome. what do you want the outcome of your talk to be? Now, you may be transferring a skill. You may be expanding some of the details for the experienced. You may announce a new discovery. You may have a pro and con argument on debating a point or an overview of a topic. These are general goals, and then you should pick the intended outcome you have and then tailor your talk to fulfill that. And of course, today, I am doing the overview of a topic on presentations. So some of the mechanics, I learned this years ago, kind of to my amazement, that the paths to the brain are primarily visual and auditory. There are others, of course, touch and smell, taste, so on. But you have visual and auditory, but the key idea is that visual input to the brain is images, not text. Visual text and hearing share the same path. So images go through the eyes to one path of the brain, but if you have written text and hearing, it's sharing the same path. Your brain essentially reads the text to you and puts it into your mind as what has been heard. And also very, very important, the reading channel overrides the hearing channel. This means, for example, if you are late night trying to find a street sign as you're driving and you have the car radio on, very often you'll turn the car radio off so that you have a clearer visual input to your brain. The radio otherwise would override looking for street signs. So there's some implications of this. If, for example, you have a slide with a number of bulletin points, the viewer will immediately read ahead. You put 4 bullets on, the viewer will start reading item 1, 2, 3. And while you're talking, that visual will override the hearing and you will miss the comments on point number 1. So a derivative of this is that to remember visual leads listening, reveal a text only as needed, or reveal in bullet points and then pause. So if you don't reveal the bullet points sequentially, put all the bullet points up and then pause for 1 or 2 seconds. The people will read through them and then you have their attention back again. And unless you're in an extended workshop, that is a classroom format, seminars, people taking notes, a session that goes for extended periods of time, if you're trying to get through something in a finite brief period of time, try to hold your presentation to no more than 3 main points. And also probably within 15 to 20 minutes. Now remember, TED Talks for a reason, they're 20 minutes long because that is a way you can easily hold people's undivided attention. Now let's talk about window sizing. Back to that example I gave a moment ago where you're showing a full screen full of code and you want to emphasize one point. It's very hard to scroll through code and know where the viewer is looking. You know exactly where you're looking, but you don't know where the viewer is looking. So the way you do that is you bring your window size down very small, and the window size would be to limit the view size of one idea, but the magic of Zoom, that will automatically be blown up to full screen size. So even though you see the small little window in one corner with one idea in it, all of us viewers will be seeing that topic blown up to full screen size. And now your idea is clear. Here's a few tips how to get the most from Zoom. Number 1, simplify your background. Another is get the best lighting that's available. And then finally, learn how to use a webcam to show your project. And speaking of your face, which is the most important part of the talk, your video lighting can be quite complicated, but I'm going to restore it down to just a single one little element. And that is to be sure that your face is clearly illuminated by more than room lights. Very few of our room lights are positioned enough to eliminate shadows and to give a clear, good illumination. And then finally, simplify or eliminate the background. Let's see what improvements can be made. This is a basic starting point. You see the black wall behind me, overhead lights, shadows coming in from the window, not particularly clear. First, I'll turn on a facial lighting. There we go. Better view of the face. Puts the emphasis where it ought to be. Now, some people go to a pretend background. This is the one I like to talk about with my spa and the indoor pool in my backyard, which is total fake. And again, it distracts from the presentation. Much better to go to a plain black background. And this is what I always use for presentations. You focus on the person, the face, what they have to say. And here's how I achieve that room lighting. I just have a simple desk lamp, a ring lamp over the top of my computer screen, and I put tissue paper over it to smooth out the shadows. A single light bulb definitely will not work. You need a diffuse light source, something that's spread out wide, and then try to eliminate the shadows. To add vitality and interest to your presentation, consider using more than one camera. Right now, I'm using the integrated camera on my computer, but I have attached a Logitech webcam. Costs about $85 and works exceedingly well. With a simple click, I can move over to the webcam. And now we're able to look at the project area and we can share all aspects. And a simple click moves us back to the integrated camera for the rest of the presentation. And as a side comment, both of these videos were filmed by Zoom. I turned on Zoom. I set up a meeting with myself, turned on the record function, gave the talk. Zoom then prepared me an MPEG file, which I then imported to PowerPoint. To switch the camera, you just go down to your video source and click on the little triangle, and you can pick out more than one camera. To get one step above that, you can go to live streaming software. This integrates multiple streams. You can do slides, desktop, video, sound, set up pre-organized scenes. There's two major ones. I use XSplit Broadcaster. It costs $5 a month. And then there's Open Broadcast Studio, OBS, which is free. I understand they're about neck and neck. I just homed in on the XSplit at the beginning, and people said the installation was a little bit easier. I've used it and I've been very happy with it. Again, for this presentation, I'm just using straight Zoom, nothing too complicated. Here's what XSplit looks like from the user standpoint. What the Zoom person sees, and this links directly to Zoom, is just that screen in the center with the image, background and face. All the stuff around the outside is your setup and your control. In the bottom right corner, there are 6 panels available, and each one is a setup of a given view and a given camera, and you can have more than 6. This is a second step of a talk in which I would go to an inset narration face, and then the PowerPoint, which is integrated nicely, and then finally you can switch to the external camera. So in this case, Zoom, remember, does the start with the introductory talk, into the talk with the slides, and then finally your demonstrations. So to cover what we've just done, first, in your mind, plan the structured presentation, your beginning, middle, and end. Figure out the proper depth of detail that you want to include. Sometimes that's a hard balance. We love the details of what we've done. On the other hand, it's very hard for the people to latch on to minutia and details in a talk that's only a few minutes long. Keep the code large for visibility. Remember the trick on expanding the screen size. Optimize your lighting and background for visibility, and then consider a hand camera. The benefits: you'll be maximizing your information transfer. You'll be holding the viewer's interest. And remember, we're generating this long-term archive. So what you will print here on an SV Fig presentation is going to go onto a YouTube archive for a long term. And we want you to be able to make the best use of your resources. Now, in retrospect and conclusion today, I used the SAFW model. First, I stated that Zoom was our communication medium. I accentuated the factors that make that communication medium work. I, for instance, this by offering a number of tools to use along with Zoom, and then I wound up with the benefits. So you see that following a model does add benefit. These slides will be posted later on at the forth.org site. So if you go to forth.org/SCFIG, you can look at the past meeting videos and slides. And the short URL or the detailed URL is forth.org svfig.kk.htm. Briefly, do we have any questions? Very good. I have a difficult sound output on this, so questions are difficult at this end because my headset connection failed. So we will turn it back to Kevin, and thank you for your rapt attention. Have we lost Kevin, or should I continue to talk?
Stand by. I'm right here. Sorry
There we
about that. I was
There you
engaged as in off at the case. So Leon had a medical issue. So he sends his regrets. Those of you that know Leon are welcome to contact him, express your hope for his speedy recovery.